When you feel like giving up on yourself. A motivational guide to reclaim inner strength, build resilience and rediscover hope when life feels overwhelming. By T.M. Light. Description: feeling like giving up on yourself can be overwhelming, but it doesn't define who you are. This book is a motivational guide designed to help readers reclaim hope, resilience and self-belief. Through practical strategies, daily practices and empowering exercises, this book teaches how to reconnect with your inner strength, overcome self-doubt, and rebuild purpose and direction. Perfect for anyone struggling with despair, burnout, or uncertainty, it provides actionable steps to navigate life's challenges, cultivate self-compassion, and create lasting personal growth. Rediscover your courage, clarity, and confidence today. Chapter Outline. Introduction Outline: recognizing the weight of giving up. Chapter 1: understanding why you feel defeated. Chapter 2: reconnecting with your inner strength. Chapter 3: the power of self-compassion. Chapter 4: identifying negative patterns and triggers. Chapter 5: letting go of what you can't control. Chapter 6: small steps that lead to big change. Chapter 7: reframing setbacks as growth. Chapter 8: cultivating support and connection. Chapter 9: rebuilding your vision and purpose. Chapter 10: sustaining hope through daily practices. Conclusion Outline: embracing the journey back to yourself. Introduction: recognizing the weight of giving up. There are moments in life when the weight of existence feels unbearable, when the pressures of responsibilities, expectations and disappointments converge, leaving you exhausted, overwhelmed and questioning your own worth. In these moments, the voice inside your head, the one that should be your guide, can become the loudest critic. It whispers that you are not enough, that you have failed, that giving up might be the simplest, safest or even inevitable choice. These thoughts are heavy, insidious and convincing, making it easy to believe that your struggle is unique, that your capacity has been exhausted, and that hope is slipping through your fingers like sand. Yet the truth is far more compassionate. Feeling like giving up does not indicate weakness, incompetence, or moral failing. It is a human signal, a natural response to stress, disappointment, or prolonged challenge. It is your inner self alerting you that you have been carrying too much, pushing too hard, and perhaps neglecting your own needs, boundaries, and inner wisdom. Recognizing this is the first step in reclaiming your sense of strength and possibility. Feeling broken or depleted is not a verdict on your character. It is a call to pause, reflect, and reconnect with the resilience that has always been inside you. The pressure to just keep going can be overwhelming, especially when the world seems to measure success in output, endurance, and visible achievement. Social media, career expectations, family responsibilities, and even cultural norms can all amplify the sense of inadequacy. When you compare your behind-the-scenes struggles to the polished lives around you, it is easy to believe you are failing, that you are falling behind, or that you are alone in your suffering. Yet, isolation is often a perception rather than reality. Every human being experiences moments of doubt, exhaustion, and despair, even if they do not openly share them. Recognizing that this is part of the human experience allows you to step back from self-judgment and meet yourself with empathy. It is in these moments of overwhelm that this book seeks to offer guidance, not as a prescription for instant solutions, but as a companion through the terrain of struggle. The purpose here is to help you reconnect with your inner voice, the quiet, patient part of yourself that knows your worth, understands your capacities, and remembers that you are capable of more than the despairing thoughts claim. The journey is not about ignoring the pain or pretending that everything is fine. It is about acknowledging the heaviness, validating your feelings, and then discovering practical ways to move forward step by step toward renewed hope and inner strength. Readers of this book are invited to understand that resilience is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to respond to difficulty with awareness, care, and courage. Life can be overwhelming, but giving up is not the only option. Even when you feel exhausted, confused, or unsure of the way forward, there is a path to reclaiming energy, clarity, and confidence. This book will guide you through strategies for self-compassion, reflection, and action, showing how even the smallest steps can gradually restore a sense of control and purpose. The internal voices of doubt, failure, and fatigue may feel relentless, yet they are not absolute truths. They are narratives shaped by past disappointments, fears, and accumulated stress. By learning to recognize these narratives, to observe them without surrendering to them, you begin to reclaim the space to choose differently. You discover that you are not the sum of your doubts, your mistakes, or your moments of weakness. You are the observer, the one who has the capacity to pause, to breathe, and to decide to continue, one deliberate step at a time. The journey through this book is structured to meet you where you are. It begins with awareness, helping you understand the origins of your feelings of giving up and the internal dialogues that amplify them. It progresses into rebuilding trust with yourself, nurturing your emotional strength, and reconnecting with your values and purpose. You will be guided to recognize patterns that have sapped your energy, and to cultivate habits, reflections, and boundaries that restore your sense of self. Every chapter is designed to be both motivational and practical. The goal is not abstract inspiration, but actionable insights that empower you to reclaim your life from the weight of despair. You will be encouraged to reflect on past experiences, identify moments when your resilience has surfaced, and apply small, achievable strategies to create momentum. Over time, these incremental steps will accumulate, gradually replacing the feeling of helplessness with a renewed sense of agency and hope. Perhaps most importantly, this book emphasizes that asking for help, seeking guidance, and leaning on support systems is not a sign of weakness. Human beings are inherently relational, and even the strongest individuals need assistance, encouragement, and perspective. Reaching out to friends, mentors, or professionals can complement the inner work, creating a network of support that reinforces your journey toward renewal. The message at the heart of this introduction is simple but profound: giving up is not inevitable. Feeling like giving up is not a failure. It is an invitation to pause, listen, and reconnect with your inner strength. Within you exists a voice that has survived every challenge you have faced, patiently waiting for your attention, ready to guide you back to hope. By learning to listen, nurture, and act in alignment with that voice, you can move forward even in the face of exhaustion, self-doubt, or fear. As you read this book, imagine it as a gentle hand extending to you in the moments when life feels too heavy to bear alone. It is a companion that reminds you of your capacity for resilience, your inherent worth, and the quiet but unwavering strength that has carried you this far. The goal is not to eliminate difficulty, but to equip you with the tools, mindset, and self-compassion to navigate it with courage. You are not weak. You are not incapable. You are not alone. Feeling like giving up is a signal that you need care, reflection, and guidance, a signal that you are ready to take steps, no matter how small, toward reclaiming your sense of self and rediscovering the hope that has always resided within you. This book is an invitation to begin that journey, to recognize the weight you carry, and to discover the strength, courage, and resilience that have been waiting for you all along. It is a journey that asks you to pause, breathe, reflect, and act, not all at once but consistently, intentionally, and compassionately. And in doing so, you will come to understand that hope is not lost, your strength is real, and your life is worth every effort to reclaim. Chapter 1: Understanding Why You Feel Defeated. There are moments in life when the heaviness seems too much to bear, when each day feels like a climb up a mountain that grows steeper with every step. You may find yourself questioning your worth, your purpose, and your ability to continue. You feel tired, worn, and perhaps even certain that your best efforts will never be enough. These feelings of defeat can be consuming, leaving you with a sense of hopelessness that makes giving up appear not only reasonable, but inevitable. Yet, as overwhelming as these moments are, they do not define you. They are signals, messengers attempting to communicate something important about your mind, your heart, and your life. To understand why you feel defeated, we must first look at the roots of these emotions. Often, defeat does not emerge suddenly. It accumulates over time, layering itself on the small disappointments, repeated failures, and persistent pressures that life imposes. Past experiences of failure, whether large or small, can haunt you long after they occur. Perhaps it was a missed opportunity, a relationship that ended painfully, a project that did not succeed, or a goal you could not reach. Each experience leaves an imprint, shaping your self-perception and creating a mental narrative that whispers, "You are not enough, you will fail again," or "You are incapable." Over time, these narratives can grow so familiar that they begin to feel like objective truth, rather than interpretations shaped by circumstance. External pressures amplify this internal weight. Society often measures success in visible achievements, social comparison, and outward performance. Career expectations, family obligations, financial demands, and cultural norms can create a persistent sense of inadequacy. When the world rewards perfection, speed, and unceasing productivity, it becomes easy to internalize the idea that anything less than excellence is failure. You are not failing because you are weak. You are navigating a system that often expects more than any one person can reasonably give. The pressure to meet these external standards can leave your spirit drained, eroding confidence and fostering a sense of defeat even when you are working tirelessly. Unrealistic expectations, both external and internal, also fuel feelings of hopelessness. You may set goals that are unattainable in the time frame or context you are in, or you may compare yourself to an idealized version of someone else's life. Social media, professional success stories, and the curated narratives of others' achievements can distort reality, making your own progress seem insufficient. When you are constantly measuring yourself against impossible standards, defeat is not just a possibility, it is almost inevitable. Recognizing this is a critical first step. You are not failing because you are inadequate. You are responding to pressures, comparisons, and expectations that are often unreasonable and unsustainable. Patterns of thought and behavior also contribute to the sensation of defeat. Negative self-talk, catastrophic thinking, and rumination can trap you in cycles of hopelessness. Once your mind becomes accustomed to anticipating failure or expecting disappointment, it filters experiences through that lens. You notice what goes wrong rather than what goes right. You internalize criticism more than praise. You interpret challenges as evidence of incapacity rather than opportunity. These thought patterns do not reflect your true ability. They are habits of the mind, often reinforced over years of experience, conditioning, and cultural messaging. An essential insight to embrace is that feeling defeated does not mean you are permanently incapable. Temporary setbacks, failures, and disappointments are not indictments of your worth. They are natural parts of the human experience. Life is rarely a linear journey of unbroken success. It is a series of challenges, adaptations, and recoveries. Understanding the difference between temporary defeat and permanent incapacity is crucial. Temporary defeat signals that you have reached the limits of your current resources or strategies, and that it may be time to pause, reflect, and recalibrate. Permanent incapacity, by contrast, would mean that you have no potential for growth or adaptation, a conclusion that no human being deserves to accept without extreme evidence. Feeling like giving up is not evidence of permanent incapacity. It is a signal that you need care, strategy, and self-compassion. It is also vital to normalize struggle. Every person, regardless of outward appearances, faces moments of despair, exhaustion, and self-doubt. You are not alone in your experience. Struggle is not a flaw, it is a feature of life. It is the pressure that shapes resilience, the friction that develops strength, and the discomfort that signals opportunity for growth. By reframing the feeling of defeat as a signal rather than a flaw, you begin to shift perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as broken, you can see yourself as a person responding to challenge in a natural and human way, a person whose next step is to nurture, learn, and recover. Part of understanding defeat is recognizing the interplay between emotion and cognition. When you feel defeated, it is easy to interpret every setback as catastrophic, to inflate small failures into evidence of overall inadequacy. This is the mind's way of protecting you from repeated disappointment by creating a sense of caution, but it can become overprotective, stopping you from taking action or pursuing opportunities. Learning to differentiate emotional intensity from objective reality is essential. Your feelings of despair are valid and real, but they do not always reflect the true scope of your abilities or potential. They are signals, not verdicts. In addition, understanding your own limits is a vital part of this chapter. Feeling defeated often comes when resources, emotional, physical, or mental, have been overextended. Perhaps you have been working tirelessly without rest, giving to others without replenishing your own reserves, or confronting repeated challenges without adequate support. Recognizing that limits exist is not weakness, it is an act of awareness and self-preservation. By acknowledging where your resources have been depleted, you can begin to take practical steps to restore them. This chapter also invites reflection. Consider the moments when you have felt defeated in the past. What were the circumstances? Were they external pressures, internal expectations, or patterns of thought? How did you respond? In reflecting on these experiences, you may notice that while the feelings of defeat were intense, they were often temporary. You survived them, learned from them, and continued forward. Recognizing your ability to endure prior challenges is one of the first sparks of hope. If you have overcome obstacles before, you have the capacity to do so again. Another key element is compassion toward yourself. Understanding defeat is not only about analyzing causes, it is also about gentleness and patience. Self-criticism can deepen despair, whereas self-compassion provides space to recover, reflect, and act. Speaking to yourself with kindness, validating your struggles, and acknowledging your efforts, even if outcomes have not met expectations, can shift your internal narrative. Compassion allows you to see your experience as human, shared, and ultimately surmountable. Finally, the chapter frames difficult feelings as invitations. When you feel like giving up, it is an opportunity to pause and listen to your inner self. What is your mind trying to tell you? What is your body signaling through exhaustion or tension? What needs have gone unmet? These questions are not a distraction. They are the first steps toward understanding, recalibration, and growth. Defeat, in this sense, becomes a messenger rather than an adversary. In summary, feeling defeated is a natural human response to accumulated stress, past failures, external pressures, and unrealistic expectations. It does not indicate permanent incapacity or personal weakness. Recognizing the roots of defeat, differentiating temporary setbacks from lasting failure, and reframing struggle as a signal rather than a flaw are essential first steps in reclaiming hope and momentum. By combining awareness, reflection, and self-compassion, you can begin to understand your feelings, navigate the challenges, and create the space to reconnect with your strength and potential. Even when hope feels distant, it is never gone. It resides quietly within you, waiting for recognition, patience, and intentional action. Understanding why you feel defeated is the first spark of possibility. The realization that while life can be hard, you are not powerless, you are not alone, and the journey toward renewal and resilience has already begun. This chapter sets the foundation for that journey, preparing you to move forward with awareness, courage, and the quiet certainty that your inner strength has always been there, ready to guide you through even the darkest moments. Chapter 2: Reconnecting with your inner strength. There comes a moment in every life when the weight of challenges feels unbearable, when the path forward seems obscured by shadows of doubt, and when the voice of your own inner strength has grown faint under the roar of fear, disappointment, and exhaustion. Yet, even in these moments, strength resides within you. It may feel dormant, obscured by hardship or long seasons of neglect, but it has never left. Reconnecting with this inner resilience is not a luxury or an abstract ideal, it is a lifeline. It is the quiet, steadfast force that allows you to rise when you feel broken, to endure when despair looms, and to reclaim your agency when life has tried to convince you that you are powerless. Inner strength is often misunderstood. Many believe it is synonymous with perfection, with never faltering or feeling fear. Others imagine it as a heroic, explosive energy that propels one effortlessly over every obstacle. But real inner strength is subtler and more profound. It is not about never feeling weak, it is about persistence, the willingness to continue despite exhaustion. It is the courage to face your circumstances, to acknowledge your pain, and to make deliberate choices to move forward even in small increments. Strength is not measured by grandeur of action, but by the consistency of returning to yourself, even when the world conspires to pull you away. One of the first steps in reconnecting with inner strength is reflection, looking back at the moments when you have survived, endured, or even triumphed, whether in ways obvious or subtle. These are victories that may have been overlooked at the time, yet they serve as evidence of your resilience. Perhaps it was the time you navigated a difficult relationship, overcame a professional challenge, or simply endured a day of emotional heaviness and kept going. Each of these moments, when examined closely, illuminates a pattern. You have always possessed the capacity to withstand, adapt, and move forward. Recognition of past victories reinforces the confidence that the present challenges, however daunting, can also be navigated. It is important to note that resilience is not static. It is cultivated through repeated acts of engagement with life's difficulties. Like a muscle, inner strength grows when exercised. Every time you choose to respond rather than retreat, to act rather than remain paralyzed by fear, you reinforce the neural pathways of courage and persistence. Each act, whether monumental or seemingly minor, is a testament to your capacity for endurance. Even in moments when results do not align with your hopes, the act of trying itself strengthens the foundation of resilience, building the confidence that effort, reflection, and perseverance are inherently valuable. A key element of reconnecting with inner strength is learning to listen deeply to yourself. Strength is not an external display of toughness, it is an intimate dialogue with your own mind and heart. By tuning in, you begin to understand your needs, your limits, and the resources available to you. This requires slowing down, pausing amidst chaos, and acknowledging the full spectrum of your feelings. It is in these moments of self-attention that clarity emerges. You begin to see that strength is not the absence of fear or difficulty, but the conscious choice to engage with life, to act in accordance with your values, and to honor your own capacity to endure. Practical reflection can serve as a bridge to reclaiming your resilience. Consider creating a mental or written list of challenges you have overcome, however small. Each entry is a testament to your resourcefulness, courage, and adaptability. Perhaps you endured a period of financial strain, confronted a fear of failure, or recovered from a health setback. These reflections are not mere nostalgia, they are evidence. They remind you that your inner strength is real, proven, and accessible in the present moment. By acknowledging these past triumphs, you cultivate a mindset that embraces possibility rather than despair. Persistence is another cornerstone of inner strength. Life rarely unfolds without obstacles, and setbacks are inevitable. True resilience is revealed not in avoiding difficulty, but in the consistent commitment to continue despite it. Persistence is the quiet determination to show up, to take the next step, to act with intention, and to refuse to allow temporary hardship to dictate your narrative. It is the accumulation of small, deliberate choices that gradually transform despair into hope, and paralysis into momentum. Reconnecting with your inner strength also requires reframing your relationship with fear and failure. These experiences are not indicators of incapacity, they are opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Each time you face a challenge, you learn more about your abilities, your limits, and your capacity for adaptation. Strength is the ability to encounter fear without surrendering to it, to view failure not as final but as feedback, and to use difficulty as a lens through which to better understand yourself. By reframing obstacles in this way, you transform adversity from a source of despair into a catalyst for growth. It is equally important to cultivate self-compassion as you reconnect with your resilience. Inner strength is not harsh or punitive, it is gentle, patient, and nurturing. Speak to yourself with the kindness you would extend to a loved one navigating hardship. Recognize that moments of weakness, uncertainty, and struggle do not diminish your power. They are part of the human journey and integral to the development of lasting resilience. Self-compassion reinforces strength by providing emotional fuel, sustaining your capacity to persevere without succumbing to the weight of judgment or shame. Daily practices can reinforce the connection to your inner strength. Meditation, journaling, mindful reflection, or intentional pauses throughout the day create opportunities to tune into your internal resources. These practices allow you to notice patterns of thought that weaken confidence, acknowledge emotional responses that may have been suppressed, and intentionally redirect energy toward persistence and action. Over time, these small, consistent practices strengthen awareness, clarity, and the sense of personal agency that underlies genuine resilience. Community and support can also enhance the cultivation of inner strength. While resilience is ultimately an internal process, human beings are relational creatures, and connection reinforces courage. Seeking guidance, sharing experiences, or simply receiving encouragement from trusted individuals can remind you that you are not alone in struggle. Support does not diminish personal strength, it amplifies it, offering perspective, empathy, and reassurance that your capacity to endure and grow is real and validated. Another critical element of inner strength is adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances often change without warning. Strength lies not in rigid adherence to a single plan, but in the ability to adjust, to recalibrate, and to continue forward in alignment with evolving realities. Adaptability ensures that your resilience is sustainable, allowing you to navigate challenges without becoming overwhelmed or immobilized. Each adjustment, each recalibration is a demonstration of persistent engagement and resourcefulness, the hallmarks of inner strength. Visualization can also be a powerful tool in reconnecting with your resilience. Imagine yourself navigating current challenges successfully, making deliberate choices that honor your values, and responding to obstacles with courage and calm. Visualization does not bypass difficulty, rather, it strengthens your belief in your ability to act effectively under pressure. By repeatedly rehearsing scenarios of resilience and persistence, you reinforce neural pathways that make courageous action more accessible when it is needed most. In addition to reflection and visualization, affirmations can reinforce the awareness of your inherent strength. Statements such as, "I have overcome challenges before, and I can do it again," or "Even when I feel tired, I am capable of persistence," serve as reminders of your demonstrated capacity for resilience. Repeatedly engaging with affirmations helps rewire thought patterns that have been dominated by self-doubt, reinforcing confidence and the awareness that strength is always present, even when it feels hidden. Ultimately, reconnecting with inner strength is a process of remembering, practicing, and trusting. It is about acknowledging that strength is not an abstract ideal, but a tangible, lived experience that has already been demonstrated in your past and is accessible in your present. It is about choosing persistence over despair, reflection over reactivity, and courage over surrender. Each moment you recognize your capacity, each decision to move forward despite fear or fatigue, each act of self-compassion, builds an unshakable foundation for resilience. The journey to rediscover your inner strength is ongoing, not a one-time achievement. Life will continue to challenge you, test you, and demand more than you feel capable of giving. Yet each step you take to engage with life intentionally, each pause to acknowledge your capabilities, and each moment of self-kindness strengthens the bridge between despair and possibility. This is the true essence of inner resilience, the continuous deliberate practice of returning to yourself, trusting your capacity, and taking action even when the path is unclear. By reflecting on past victories, reframing failures as lessons, practicing compassion, and engaging daily with your internal resources, you gradually rebuild the connection to the strength that has always been within you. You learn that inner resilience is not a fleeting emotion or a rare gift. It is an enduring presence, patiently waiting for your recognition and engagement. You discover that strength is not in never faltering but in consistently choosing to rise, persist, and act in alignment with your truth. As this chapter closes, remember this: your strength is not lost. It has never abandoned you. What may feel hidden under the weight of struggle is simply waiting for awareness, patience, and action to be reactivated. By reconnecting with your inner resilience, you reclaim your power to endure, to grow, and to create momentum in the direction of hope, confidence, and fulfillment. You are capable. You are resourceful. You are strong even when you feel weak. And now the journey to fully realize that strength continues, one courageous step at a time. Chapter 3: The Power of Self-Compassion. It is remarkable how harshly we treat ourselves, how unrelenting the inner critic can be. Many of us carry a constant narrative of judgment, a whisper or sometimes a roar, reminding us of every failure, every misstep, every perceived flaw. It is easy to forget that this voice, while familiar, is not the measure of our worth. For some, it feels impossible to silence, like a relentless companion that shadows every decision and colors every experience with doubt and self-reproach. And yet, in that very space, there is a possibility, a path to healing and empowerment that comes through the practice of self-compassion. Learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we extend to others is not indulgent, and it is not weakness. It is transformative. Self-compassion begins with awareness. We must first recognize the extent of the self-criticism we endure. Perhaps it emerges after a small mistake at work, a perceived failure in a relationship, or when we feel we are not living up to expectations, our own or those of others. We may notice thoughts like, "I am not good enough," "I always mess things up," or "I don't deserve happiness." These internal dialogues are often automatic, arising without conscious intent, shaped over years by external judgment, comparison, and personal experiences. Becoming aware of these patterns is the first step toward change. Awareness does not mean judgment. It is the simple acknowledgement that these thoughts exist and that they have an impact on our emotional and mental well-being. Once awareness is present, we can begin to practice self-compassion. This practice is not about ignoring mistakes or pretending that everything is fine. It is about approaching ourselves with the same empathy and understanding that we would offer a friend in distress. Imagine for a moment a friend coming to you, exhausted and defeated, feeling like they have failed. Your natural instinct would likely be to offer reassurance, perspective, and encouragement. You might remind them of their past victories, their strengths, and their resilience. Self-compassion invites us to turn that same kindness inward, to become our own source of encouragement and care. One powerful way to cultivate self-compassion is through self-affirmations. Affirmations are statements that reinforce your value, resilience, and capacity for growth. They are not magical solutions, but consistent engagement with them can shift the internal narrative over time. Simple affirmations such as, "I am doing my best and that is enough," "I am worthy of kindness including my own," or "I can learn and grow from mistakes," can help counteract the habitual patterns of criticism that erode confidence. By repeating these statements with intention, we begin to replace judgment with encouragement, creating an internal environment that supports resilience rather than undermines it. Journaling is another effective tool for developing self-compassion. Writing allows us to explore our thoughts and feelings without judgment, to externalize internal dialogues that can otherwise spiral unchecked. Gentle journaling might include reflecting on moments of struggle and asking, "How would I respond to a friend in this situation?" or "What kind supportive words can I offer myself now?" Over time, this practice cultivates a habit of responding to ourselves with empathy, reinforcing the understanding that we are not failures, but human beings navigating challenges. Journaling also helps track progress, providing tangible evidence of growth, resilience, and the ability to navigate difficult emotions. Reframing failures as learning experiences is another cornerstone of self-compassion. Human beings are not defined by setbacks, they are defined by how we respond to them. Every mistake, every disappointment, carries a lesson if we are willing to see it. Instead of thinking, "I failed, therefore I am incapable," we can shift perspective. "This did not go as planned, but I can learn from it and do better next time." This reframing does not diminish the pain of failure, but it shifts the meaning we assign to it, transforming despair into opportunity. By consistently practicing this mindset, we gradually reduce the emotional weight of mistakes and increase our ability to act courageously despite imperfection. Emotional safety is also central to self-compassion. Many of us have grown accustomed to suppressing feelings out of fear of judgment or rejection. We may tell ourselves that anger, sadness, or vulnerability are signs of weakness. In reality, allowing ourselves to feel fully and without judgment is an act of strength. Emotions are signals, providing insight into our needs, values, and experiences. By creating a safe internal space to acknowledge them, we strengthen self-awareness and foster resilience. Self-compassion ensures that this acknowledgement is gentle, supportive, and validating, rather than critical or dismissive. Self-compassion also involves setting boundaries with ourselves. Often we expect more of ourselves than is reasonable, maintaining an internal standard that is unattainable and unforgiving. To practice self-compassion is to recognize our limits, honor our need for rest, and treat mistakes as part of the process of growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. It is an active choice to nurture rather than punish, to sustain energy rather than deplete it further, and to recognize that our well-being is essential to both personal fulfillment and effectiveness in our responsibilities. One of the most profound shifts that self-compassion brings is the ability to respond rather than react. When we are consumed by self-criticism, our emotional responses are often reactive, impulsive, and disproportionate. By practicing self-compassion, we cultivate a pause between stimulus and response, a space in which we can reflect, assess, and choose a course of action that is aligned with our well-being and values. This pause allows us to act with wisdom and clarity, rather than being driven solely by shame, fear, or doubt. It is important to acknowledge that practicing self-compassion is a journey, not a one-time event. Old patterns of self-criticism can be deeply entrenched, reinforced over decades. You may find that at first, nurturing yourself feels unnatural or even uncomfortable. The inner critic may push back, telling you that kindness toward yourself is undeserved or indulgent. This is normal. Resistance is part of the process, and the persistence to continue practicing self-compassion despite discomfort is itself an expression of inner strength. Over time, the practice becomes more intuitive, and the internal voice gradually transforms from a critic to a supporter. Another dimension of self-compassion is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows us to observe thoughts and feelings without being consumed by them. When paired with self-compassion, it becomes a tool for recognizing critical thoughts without surrendering to them. Mindful self-compassion teaches that we can feel disappointment or frustration without allowing these feelings to define our identity. By observing our experience objectively and gently, we create a space in which healing and growth can occur. Relationships, too, benefit from self-compassion. When we treat ourselves with care and respect, it becomes easier to engage authentically with others. We are less likely to overextend ourselves to gain approval or to tolerate toxic behavior, because we understand our own worth and are able to honor our boundaries. Self-compassion fosters clarity, empathy, and patience in interactions, allowing relationships to flourish in ways that are healthy, balanced, and mutually supportive. Even in moments of extreme difficulty, self-compassion can act as an anchor. When life feels overwhelming, when setbacks pile upon one another, and when despair threatens to take hold, returning to self-compassion provides a stabilizing force. It reminds you that you are not alone, that your struggles do not define your worth, and that you have the internal resources to endure and navigate challenges. Compassion toward oneself is the foundation upon which resilience, confidence, and hope are rebuilt. The ultimate power of self-compassion lies in its ability to transform suffering into strength. By choosing to nurture rather than criticize, to understand rather than condemn, and to support rather than attack, we create an internal environment in which healing is possible. Over time, self-compassion diminishes the hold of fear and shame, replacing them with courage, patience, and trust in our own capacity to navigate life. It teaches that while we cannot always control external circumstances, we can control how we treat ourselves in the face of adversity. Reconnecting with self-compassion is not an abstract exercise, it is deeply practical. It manifests in daily choices, how we speak to ourselves, how we respond to setbacks, how we allocate our energy, and how we prioritize well-being. Each act of self-compassion, no matter how small, strengthens emotional resilience, enhances clarity, and reinforces the understanding that we are deserving of care, patience, and kindness. As this chapter closes, remember that self-compassion is both a practice and a mindset. It is a decision to treat yourself with dignity and understanding, even when circumstances are difficult, even when mistakes are made, and even when the inner critic is loud. By committing to this practice, you not only heal and protect yourself, but you also lay the foundation for the courage, persistence, and resilience necessary to navigate the challenges that life inevitably brings. Your capacity for self-compassion is already within you. It waits quietly beneath layers of doubt, self-judgment, and fear. By acknowledging it, nurturing it, and practicing it daily, you reconnect with a source of strength that is gentle yet unshakable. This is the power of self-compassion. It transforms inner struggle into healing, fear into courage, and despair into hope, creating a life rooted in acceptance, resilience, and authentic self-respect. Chapter 4: Identifying Negative Patterns and Triggers. There is a subtle, almost invisible web that often ensnares our minds and hearts during moments of despair. These are the patterns and triggers that, when left unchecked, deepen feelings of giving up and amplify hopelessness. They may appear as recurring thoughts, habitual reactions, or repetitive circumstances that consistently drain our energy and confidence. The challenge is that they are so familiar we rarely notice them, assuming them to be part of life, rather than signs that demand attention and transformation. Recognizing these patterns is not about blame, it is about illumination, understanding, and reclaiming the power that has been quietly eroded over time. Negative patterns often begin quietly, creeping into our consciousness through repeated experiences. Perhaps you notice that certain interactions, phrases, or situations trigger intense emotions, anxiety, frustration, shame, or sadness, that leave you feeling depleted. Maybe it is a critical colleague, an unresponsive partner, or even a recurring thought like, "I'll never get this right." These triggers often have roots in early life experiences, conditioning, and unresolved pain. By identifying them, you bring to light the sources of your emotional distress and empower yourself to make conscious choices rather than react automatically. Recurring habits, whether mental, emotional, or behavioral, are another layer of negative patterns. These habits may be as simple as ruminating on past mistakes, obsessing over what others think, or avoiding responsibilities out of fear. They may also manifest as overcommitting, procrastinating, or engaging in behaviors that undermine personal growth. What makes these habits particularly dangerous is their ability to create cycles of self-sabotage, where the very strategies meant to protect you, such as avoidance, become barriers to healing and forward movement. Awareness is the first step in breaking these cycles. Emotional triggers, in particular, are essential to recognize. They often signal areas of vulnerability that have been neglected or suppressed. When triggered, your mind and body respond instinctively, sometimes with anger, fear, or withdrawal. The more frequently a trigger is activated without intervention, the stronger the conditioned response becomes. Over time, this can amplify feelings of helplessness and defeat, convincing you that giving up is inevitable. Recognizing emotional triggers allows you to pause, observe, and respond intentionally, breaking the cycle of automatic reaction. Self-sabotaging behaviors are intimately connected with these patterns. They may manifest as procrastination, perfectionism, or self-critical thought loops that undermine progress. For example, you may delay taking action because of fear of failure, only to then berate yourself for your inaction. This internal conflict reinforces negative self-perception and deepens hopelessness. By identifying these behaviors as patterns rather than moral failings, you remove the shame associated with them and open the door to intentional change. Unhelpful beliefs often underpin negative patterns. These are the assumptions we hold about ourselves, others, and the world that limit our perception and restrict our potential. Beliefs such as, "I am not capable, I must always succeed," or "others' approval defines my worth," can silently guide behavior in ways that reinforce despair. These beliefs may have originated in childhood, been reinforced by social conditioning, or developed in response to past disappointments. Once identified, they can be challenged, reframed, and replaced with empowering alternatives that foster resilience, confidence, and hope. Recognition requires honesty and curiosity. It is not always easy to admit that certain thoughts, actions, or relationships contribute to feelings of giving up, but doing so is empowering. It allows you to see yourself not as a passive victim of circumstances, but as an active participant capable of making deliberate choices. Reflection exercises such as journaling about recurring emotional responses, noting patterns in your relationships, and exploring moments of self-sabotage can illuminate connections that were previously hidden. With this awareness, comes the ability to intervene proactively. Environment is another critical factor in understanding negative patterns. The spaces we inhabit, both physically and emotionally, can either uplift or drain us. A chaotic workspace, a toxic friendship, or a family dynamic that consistently invalidates your feelings can exacerbate despair. Conversely, environments that nurture, support, and encourage growth can reinforce resilience. By observing how your surroundings influence your emotional and mental state, you can make conscious adjustments that protect your energy and reduce triggers for hopelessness. Self-reflection is essential for transforming awareness into action. Begin by identifying situations that consistently lead to emotional exhaustion. Ask yourself, what thoughts, beliefs, or expectations arise in these moments? How do my body and mind respond? What recurring behaviors do I notice? Through consistent examination, you can map patterns that have gone unnoticed and begin to intervene intentionally. This process is both courageous and necessary because it shifts the narrative from one of helplessness to one of empowerment. Challenging negative beliefs requires practice and patience. Once a pattern or belief is identified, consider its validity and utility. Ask yourself, is this belief objectively true, or is it a conditioned response shaped by past experiences? Does it serve my growth, or does it limit my potential? By questioning these beliefs and experimenting with alternative interpretations, you begin to weaken their hold and open space for more adaptive, compassionate, and empowering perspectives. It is also important to recognize the role of emotions in reinforcing patterns. Feelings like fear, shame, or anger are signals rather than enemies. They point to areas where needs are unmet, boundaries are blurred, or values are compromised. Instead of avoiding these emotions, acknowledge them, explore their origin, and allow them to inform your choices. Emotional intelligence, the capacity to recognize, understand, and respond to your emotions, is closely tied to resilience. The more adept you become at observing emotional responses without judgment, the more effectively you can break cycles of self-sabotage and hopelessness. Relationships play a crucial role in reinforcing or mitigating negative patterns. Certain individuals may unconsciously trigger self-doubt, fear, or shame. These triggers are not inherently malicious. Often they reflect unresolved dynamics or contrasting values. By identifying which relationships consistently contribute to emotional distress, you gain the opportunity to establish boundaries, adjust expectations, or seek support. This does not mean severing connections indiscriminately, but rather curating a social environment that supports growth and resilience. Habits of thought are equally important to examine. Automatic negative thoughts often act as the groundwork for larger emotional patterns. Thoughts like, I can't handle this, I'm always failing, or things will never change, create self-fulfilling prophecies. The key is to notice these thoughts as they arise, label them without judgment, and consciously replace them with alternative perspectives that acknowledge challenge while affirming capability. Cognitive restructuring, mindfulness, and self-talk interventions are practical strategies that help retrain the mind to respond with awareness rather than reactivity. Intervening in these patterns requires action. Awareness alone is insufficient if it does not translate into intentional choices. Start small. Pause before reacting to a trigger, notice recurring thoughts, or adjust a behavior that reinforces despair. Even minor actions repeated consistently can disrupt entrenched cycles. Over time, these interventions compound, reshaping emotional responses, reinforcing agency, and diminishing the frequency and intensity of hopelessness. It is essential to maintain compassion throughout this process. Identifying patterns and triggers can evoke discomfort, guilt, or frustration. You may feel ashamed for having allowed these cycles to persist, or overwhelmed by the magnitude of change required. Self-compassion anchors the work by reminding you that recognizing and addressing patterns is a courageous act. You are not flawed for having these triggers. You are human, navigating a complex and often challenging landscape. Kindness toward yourself allows you to sustain effort without succumbing to discouragement. Visualization exercises can complement reflection. Picture yourself encountering a trigger with calm awareness, responding with intentionality rather than automatic reaction. Imagine replacing habitual self-criticism with supportive self-talk, or choosing a healthier environment that nurtures your well-being. Repeated mental rehearsal strengthens confidence and prepares the mind to respond constructively when real-life situations arise. The ultimate goal of identifying negative patterns and triggers is empowerment. By illuminating the hidden forces that shape thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, you reclaim the capacity to choose. Awareness provides the space between stimulus and response, allowing deliberation, self-care, and intentional action. In recognizing patterns, you no longer feel swept away by life. You become the navigator, able to steer toward resilience, clarity, and hope. Even as triggers continue to appear, their power diminishes when met with awareness and intentionality. Each recognition is a victory. Each moment of deliberate response is a testament to your capacity for growth. The more consistently you identify and address these patterns, the more freedom you create, freedom to act, to recover, and to embrace life without the heavy burden of unconscious cycles. Reinforcing this awareness daily ensures that the work is sustainable. Journaling reflections on triggers, noting emotional responses, and observing behavioral patterns consolidate insight. Over time, patterns that once dominated your experience begin to lose their grip. They are replaced by new habits of thought, emotional resilience, and conscious action. What once prompted despair now becomes an opportunity to exercise agency, compassion, and courage. In conclusion, recognizing negative patterns and triggers is a profound act of self-empowerment. These recurring habits, emotional cues, unhelpful beliefs, and environmental influences shape your experience of hopelessness, but they are not immutable. Through awareness, reflection, compassionate intervention, and consistent practice, you reclaim the ability to act intentionally rather than react unconsciously. You transform patterns that once amplified despair into opportunities for self-understanding, resilience, and hope. The journey requires honesty, patience, and courage, but it is a journey toward freedom, the freedom to navigate life with clarity, choice, and the knowledge that giving up is never the only option. Chapter 5: Letting Go of What You Can't Control. There comes a time in every life when the weight of responsibility feels insurmountable, when the pressure to control outcomes, people, and circumstances becomes exhausting, and when the mind cannot rest from its ceaseless calculations of what could go wrong or what should have been done differently. In these moments, the desire to hold tightly, to micromanage, predict, and intervene is natural. We are wired to want security, stability, and influence over our lives. Yet, paradoxically, the very act of attempting to control the uncontrollable often magnifies stress, fuels anxiety, and erodes peace. Letting go, then, is not an act of surrender in weakness but an exercise in wisdom, strength, and liberation. To release what we cannot control, we must first cultivate awareness of the distinction between influence and ownership. It is easy to conflate concern with responsibility, believing that the world's outcomes rest entirely on our shoulders. We may replay past decisions, ruminate over failures, or obsess about future possibilities in the futile hope that our worry or effort will shape results. Yet there are elements in life, other people's choices, natural events, and unforeseen circumstances, over which we have no genuine authority. Acceptance does not mean indifference. It means recognizing reality without fighting against it unnecessarily, reserving energy for what can truly be influenced. Guilt and regret are among the most pervasive burdens of attempting to control what is uncontrollable. We carry them silently, whispering in the mind, "I should have done more," or "if only I had acted differently." These sentiments are familiar to anyone who has ever faced disappointment, loss, or conflict. They weigh on the heart, convincing us that our value is tied to outcomes rather than effort, that our identity is measured by success rather than the courage to try. The practice of letting go begins with understanding that our intentions, effort, and authenticity matter more than results we cannot dictate. We are human, fallible, and learning as we go, and the recognition of this truth is the foundation for release. The process of letting go also requires an honest assessment of control. Ask yourself, which elements of this situation are truly within my power to influence? Which are determined by forces outside my authority, circumstances, other people's decisions, or timing beyond my control? By differentiating between what you can change and what you cannot, you reclaim mental clarity. This distinction prevents wasted energy, reduces anxiety, and fosters a sense of agency where it truly exists. Effort becomes strategic rather than scattered. Attention is focused on actions that can produce meaningful results rather than obsessively attempting to manage impossibilities. Acceptance is the heart of this process. Acceptance does not imply complacency or passivity. It does not mean that you ignore challenges or avoid responsibility. Rather, it is the conscious choice to acknowledge reality without resistance, to release the tension that comes from futile control, and to invest energy in what can be influenced. Acceptance opens the door to mental and emotional relief, providing space for reflection, decision-making, and compassionate self-care. When we accept what cannot be changed, we regain the freedom to act effectively within our sphere of influence. A practical approach to letting go begins with awareness of emotional triggers. Often, we attempt to control situations because we fear discomfort, disappointment, or failure. Recognizing these fears as signals rather than directives allows us to respond thoughtfully. For example, feeling anxiety about a relationship does not obligate us to manipulate outcomes or force reconciliation. It is an invitation to understand our needs, set boundaries, and engage with intention. The emotion serves as a guide, rather than a command to act beyond our control. Another element of release is reframing perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "How can I make this perfect?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values?" Shifting focus from outcome to intention transforms pressure into opportunity and distress into growth. By practicing this reframing consistently, we train our minds to recognize that peace does not require total control, but thoughtful engagement and wise acceptance. Self-compassion plays a critical role in letting go. When we release control, guilt or self-blame may surface, particularly if we have long associated outcomes with self-worth. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge these feelings without judgment, affirming that our value is inherent and not contingent on results. Gentle self-talk reminders such as, "I did what I could, and that is enough," or "I am learning and growing through this," reinforces resilience, reducing the emotional burden of release and cultivating inner peace. Visualization exercises can also strengthen the ability to let go. Imagine holding tightly to a rope representing worry, responsibility, or guilt. Feel the tension in your hands, shoulders, and chest. Now picture releasing the rope, allowing it to fall, knowing that the outcome is beyond your direct control. Experience the lightness, relief, and clarity that follow. This mental rehearsal trains the body and mind to experience the release of tension in tangible ways, making the practice of letting go more accessible in real-life situations. Gratitude is another tool that complements acceptance. When we focus on what is within our control, our effort, our choices, our character, and recognize the aspects of life for which we are grateful, we shift attention away from futile attempts at external control. Gratitude reinforces perspective, reminding us that life contains beauty, opportunity, and abundance, even amid uncertainty. This mindset nurtures resilience, reduces emotional turbulence, and strengthens the capacity to navigate challenges with clarity. Boundaries are also essential in releasing control. Attempting to control outcomes often stems from a desire to manage the actions of others or prevent disappointment. By establishing clear, healthy boundaries, we protect our energy and prevent overextension. Boundaries do not limit care or involvement. They create clarity about what is within your responsibility versus what is not. In doing so, they support emotional well-being and reinforce the distinction between effort and outcome. Forgiveness, particularly of oneself, is a profound act of release. Past mistakes, regrets, or perceived failures can anchor us in a cycle of guilt and self-reproach, creating a false sense of obligation to control or fix outcomes indefinitely. Forgiving yourself is an acknowledgement that you acted with the knowledge, skills, and resources you had at the time. It is an act of compassion and liberation, freeing you to focus on the present rather than being tethered to the past. Mindfulness is another practice that strengthens the capacity to let go. By cultivating present moment awareness, we reduce preoccupation with hypothetical futures or unchangeable pasts. Mindfulness allows us to notice thoughts and feelings without attachment, understanding that they are transient and do not define our reality. This perspective creates emotional space, enabling calmer, more intentional responses to challenges, and reducing the compulsion to control outcomes that are beyond our authority. Spirituality or personal philosophy can also support the practice of letting go. For some, faith in a higher power, in universal timing, or in the inherent order of life provides reassurance that not everything is meant to be managed by human hands. For others, a belief in the unpredictability and impermanence of life offers perspective that empowers acceptance. Whether through meditation, prayer, reflection, or contemplation, connecting with a worldview that transcends immediate control fosters peace and resilience. Consistency in these practices is critical. Letting go is not a single act, but an ongoing process, requiring repeated awareness, reflection, and conscious choice. Life will continually present situations beyond your control, and each will test the habit of release. By approaching each instance with intentionality, compassion, and clarity, you build an enduring capacity to maintain emotional equilibrium, focus on what truly matters, and prevent despair from taking hold. The benefits of releasing control extend beyond emotional relief. Letting go enhances decision-making by directing energy toward action that is meaningful and attainable. It strengthens relationships, as attempts to control others often create tension, resentment, and conflict. It fosters resilience, as repeated practice demonstrates that peace is possible even amid uncertainty. Finally, it cultivates trust in oneself and in life, reinforcing the understanding that while outcomes cannot always be dictated, one can always act with integrity, wisdom, and intention. It is important to remember that acceptance is an active, courageous process. It does not excuse inaction or avoidance. Instead, it empowers deliberate engagement with life's challenges while relinquishing unnecessary burdens. By focusing on what can be influenced, effort, attitude, boundaries, reflection, and choice, you preserve energy, nurture emotional well-being, and strengthen resilience. By releasing what cannot be controlled, you create space for clarity, peace, and purposeful action. In summary, letting go of what is beyond your control is a profound act of self-liberation. It requires awareness, reflection, emotional intelligence, and consistent practice. By differentiating between influence and ownership, releasing guilt and regret, reframing perspectives, cultivating self-compassion, setting boundaries and embracing mindfulness, you reclaim agency over your life in meaningful ways. The weight of trying to control everything dissipates, replaced by a sense of freedom, clarity, and inner strength. Letting go is not surrender in weakness. It is an affirmation of wisdom, courage, and resilience, the understanding that peace resides not in controlling outcomes, but in responding thoughtfully and intentionally to life as it unfolds. By embracing this practice, you begin to experience life with greater ease, focus, and emotional equilibrium. You learn that you are not defined by external results, but by your ability to navigate uncertainty with grace and courage. You discover that your energy, attention, and effort are most powerful when directed toward what you can influence, while releasing what cannot be dictated by human will. This liberation is transformative, providing clarity, emotional relief, and a renewed sense of possibility. Letting go is a daily choice, a constant return to what is within your control and a gentle release of what is not. Each time you practice it, you reinforce resilience, reduce emotional burden, and deepen trust in yourself and the unfolding of life. In doing so, you reclaim freedom, peace, and the quiet confidence that, even amidst uncertainty, you can continue forward with intention, courage, and unwavering hope. Chapter 6: Small Steps That Lead to Big Change. Change can feel like a mountain that is too steep to climb. When life feels heavy, when hope has dimmed, and when challenges appear insurmountable, the idea of transformation can seem impossible. You may tell yourself, "I'm too tired to start," or "I'll never get it right," and in that moment giving up feels easier than trying. Yet the truth is that no mountain is climbed in a single leap. Every great transformation, every meaningful change, begins with a single small step. Small steps are not insignificant. They are the foundation upon which resilience, confidence, and hope are rebuilt. The first principle in creating meaningful change is recognizing that action, however tiny, matters. When overwhelmed by the magnitude of challenges, we often focus on the distance left to cover, rather than the progress already made. This perspective magnifies fear and discouragement, convincing us that efforts are futile. Yet, every small step forward is a demonstration of agency. It is evidence that you are capable of moving even when circumstances feel heavy. Small, consistent action accumulates over time, creating momentum that eventually carries you far beyond what initially seemed possible. Breaking goals into manageable increments is essential. When confronted with a seemingly impossible task, whether rebuilding self-confidence, improving health, or addressing long-standing personal challenges, the enormity can paralyze. The mind struggles with abstraction and feels overwhelmed by the distance between the present and the desired outcome. By dividing the goal into micro-actions, you make it tangible and attainable. For example, instead of resolving to transform my life, one might focus on specific daily practices, journaling for 10 minutes, taking a short walk, or reaching out to a supportive friend. These small actions create a bridge between intention and accomplishment, demonstrating that progress is achievable. Momentum grows with repetition. Each completed step reinforces confidence, creating a psychological and emotional foundation for the next action. Success, even on a small scale, produces measurable results in the brain, releasing chemicals that reinforce positive behavior, resilience, and motivation. When you acknowledge each step as meaningful, you validate your efforts, counteracting the voice that insists your work is insignificant or futile. Momentum is not about speed, it is about consistency. A series of small, deliberate actions taken every day compounds into profound change over weeks, months, and years. Patience is a vital companion in this journey. Transformation does not happen overnight, and setbacks are inevitable. There will be moments when progress feels slow or invisible, when doubts arise, or when obstacles appear to halt forward movement. In these moments, persistence matters more than speed. Each small step is a reaffirmation of commitment to yourself, an act of courage in the face of doubt. Recognizing that resilience is cultivated through repeated effort rather than instantaneous results allows you to stay engaged even when the path feels long. Small steps also encourage focus and clarity. When attention is directed toward a single manageable action, the mind is free from the paralyzing weight of the entire journey. Focusing on incremental progress creates a sense of presence, grounding you in what you can control rather than what you fear or regret. This shift in perspective reduces anxiety, strengthens confidence, and nurtures a proactive mindset. One step becomes a template: notice, act, reflect, adjust, and continue. Over time, this cycle transforms habits, thinking patterns, and emotional responses. Reflection magnifies the impact of small steps. After each action, pause to acknowledge what you have done and how it affects your trajectory. Reflection is not about judgment or criticism, it is about awareness and learning. What worked? What felt aligned with your values? What might need adjustment? By engaging thoughtfully with your experiences, you cultivate insight that guides the next step, ensuring that progress is deliberate rather than random. Reflection transforms simple action into strategic growth. Consistency is key. Small steps, when taken sporadically, may not produce sustainable change. Yet, repeated, intentional action creates a rhythm, a reliable structure that reinforces habits, strengthens resilience, and nurtures hope. Over time, these repeated efforts accumulate into lasting transformation. Consider the power of repetition in daily life: brushing your teeth, learning a skill, or building endurance in physical training. Each repetition may feel minor in isolation, but together they generate profound results. Life transformation works the same way. Celebration, even of the smallest achievements, is essential. Society often encourages us to wait for monumental success before acknowledging our progress, yet this mindset undermines motivation. Celebrating small victories validates effort, strengthens confidence, and reinforces the neural pathways associated with achievement and resilience. Whether it is finishing a task you have been avoiding, making a difficult phone call, or simply choosing to try despite fear, recognition of progress nurtures hope and reinforces the belief that change is possible. Resilience is strengthened by these incremental victories. Each small step demonstrates that effort matters, that you are capable of action, and that setbacks do not define your worth or your trajectory. When life feels overwhelming, the accumulation of small successes reminds you that the human spirit is remarkably adaptable and capable. Resilience grows not from perfection but from persistence, the repeated commitment to continue, even when the path is unclear or difficult. Accountability can enhance the effectiveness of small steps. Sharing goals or micro-actions with a trusted friend, mentor, or community creates external reinforcement. Accountability does not pressure. It encourages reflection, recognition, and motivation. When others witness your commitment to incremental change, it reinforces your own belief in progress and provides an external mirror of effort, growth, and potential. Adaptability is another important aspect. Small steps allow flexibility, enabling you to adjust approaches based on feedback, new information, or shifting circumstances. Unlike overwhelming goals that demand rigid adherence, incremental action accommodates change and learning. When setbacks occur, adjustments can be made without derailing overall progress. This flexibility reduces fear of failure and strengthens confidence in the ability to navigate challenges. Visualization and mental rehearsal complement small steps. Imagine yourself taking the next step, seeing it through, and acknowledging the result. Repeatedly envisioning success, even in minor actions, reinforces belief in capability, strengthens motivation, and reduces the intimidation of larger goals. Visualization provides both psychological rehearsal and emotional reinforcement, preparing you to act with confidence and persistence. Accountability to oneself is equally important. Journaling progress, noting accomplishments, and recording reflections create tangible evidence of effort. This evidence counteracts feelings of stagnation, showing that even small actions contribute to meaningful growth over time. Documented progress reminds you that change is not always visible moment to moment, but accumulates cumulatively, reinforcing hope and commitment. Courage is required to take small steps. Each step involves facing discomfort, uncertainty, or fear. The courage to begin, to continue, and to persist despite doubts is an expression of strength. Even when progress seems slow, each step affirms your capacity to act, to endure, and to move closer to your desired state. Courage is amplified through repetition. Each small action strengthens confidence, fortifies resilience, and nurtures hope. One of the most profound aspects of small steps is their accessibility. They require no grand gestures, monumental effort, or perfect conditions. They are available to everyone, regardless of circumstance, and they build momentum that compounds over time. By focusing on what is manageable today, rather than what feels impossible in its entirety, you reclaim agency over your life and restore faith in your capacity to affect change. Small steps also cultivate mindfulness and presence. When attention is devoted to a single task, a small action, or a micro goal, the mind engages fully with the present moment. This focus reduces anxiety, increases clarity, and strengthens confidence in your ability to respond effectively to challenges. Over time, this practice becomes habitual, creating a mindset oriented toward action, awareness, and growth, rather than paralysis and despair. The ripple effect of small steps extends beyond the immediate action. Each incremental success generates energy, motivation, and confidence that influence other areas of life. Completing a difficult task reinforces belief in capability, encouraging further action in related domains. Momentum, once established, becomes self-reinforcing, transforming small beginnings into expansive growth. The power lies not in the individual step, but in the cumulative effect of persistent, deliberate action. Even in the face of setbacks, small steps provide continuity. Life is unpredictable, and obstacles are inevitable. Yet, incremental action ensures that progress does not cease entirely when circumstances challenge you. A single small step taken consistently, even during adversity, maintains momentum, reinforces resilience, and reminds you that hope is accessible. The practice of small steps teaches that progress is not eliminated by obstacles, it is sustained by persistence. In conclusion, small steps are the secret architecture of transformation. They teach that persistence matters more than speed, that effort accumulates into momentum, and that meaningful change begins with what is manageable today. By breaking overwhelming goals into achievable increments, celebrating victories, maintaining consistency, cultivating reflection, and embracing courage, you create a structure for lasting growth. The mountain of change, once intimidating, becomes approachable one deliberate step at a time. The journey of small steps restores hope, reinforces resilience, and rebuilds confidence in the human capacity for growth. Each step is an affirmation that you are capable, that effort matters, and that change is possible. By embracing the power of incremental action, you reclaim agency over your life, rebuild belief in yourself, and experience the transformative energy that comes from persistent, purposeful engagement with each moment. Your path forward does not require leaps, perfection, or certainty. It requires awareness, courage, and the willingness to act consistently, however modestly. Each step you take is a declaration that you refuse to give up on yourself, that you are committed to growth, and that you trust in the cumulative power of persistence. Through small steps, the impossible becomes achievable, and the life you desire begins to take shape, one intentional action at a time. Chapter 7: Reframing Setbacks as Growth. Life has a way of presenting challenges that can feel overwhelming, moments that make us question our worth, our abilities, and even our purpose. Setbacks, failures, and unexpected obstacles often arrive unannounced, shaking the foundation of confidence we carefully build. It is in these moments, when defeat seems inevitable and giving up feels tempting, that the power of perspective becomes transformative. The way we interpret our experiences, the narratives we create around adversity, can either imprison us in hopelessness or propel us into resilience. Learning to reframe setbacks as growth is not merely a motivational idea. It is a practical skill that strengthens our capacity to persevere, adapt, and thrive. To begin reframing, we must first acknowledge the natural human response to setbacks. Feelings of disappointment, frustration, anger, or sadness are not signs of weakness. They are proof that we care deeply about our goals, relationships, and values. These emotions are valid and deserve attention, but they need not dictate the story we tell ourselves about failure. When we treat setbacks as evidence of personal inadequacy, we internalize defeat and diminish our belief in our potential. Recognizing that emotion and narrative are separate allows us to experience feelings fully, without allowing them to define our identity. Reflection is the foundation of this transformation. After encountering a setback, take time to pause and examine the situation. What occurred? What factors were within your control and which were not? What did you learn about your approach, your strengths, or your vulnerabilities? By analyzing the experience with curiosity rather than judgment, you shift from reactive despair to active learning. Reflection transforms the moment from a source of shame into a source of insight, revealing patterns, opportunities, and areas for growth that might otherwise remain hidden. Perspective shift is the next crucial step. Often setbacks feel permanent and all-encompassing, as though a single failure defines the entirety of our capability or future. Yet in reality, setbacks are temporary, localized experiences. One project may not succeed, one relationship may end, or one goal may be delayed, but these moments do not erase the entirety of your skill, resilience, or potential. By consciously viewing setbacks as temporary and specific rather than absolute, you prevent them from eroding your confidence and maintain a sense of agency over your life. Narrative change deepens this process. Humans are storytelling creatures. The way we interpret and recount our experiences shapes our identity, beliefs, and behavior. When faced with failure, we often tell ourselves stories like, "I can't do this," or "I'm not meant for success." These narratives reinforce helplessness and limit future effort. Reframing encourages constructing alternative narratives. "This was challenging, but I learned something valuable," or "I stumbled, but I can adapt and try again with greater wisdom." By consciously rewriting the story, you reclaim your role as the author of your life rather than a passive participant in events. Reframing also involves recognizing the inherent lessons in adversity. Every obstacle carries information about our strengths, weaknesses, and areas for development. A failed project may reveal gaps in planning or communication, providing insight for future improvement. A difficult interaction may illuminate boundaries that need reinforcement, or emotional skills that require attention. Seeing setbacks as feedback rather than verdicts transforms discouragement into motivation, guiding future actions with clarity and intention. Self-compassion is vital in this process. When we fail, the mind often resorts to harsh criticism and judgment. We replay mistakes, amplify missteps, and undermine our confidence. Self-compassion interrupts this cycle, allowing us to approach setbacks with kindness, understanding, and perspective. Statements such as, "I am learning and mistakes are part of growth," or "I acted with the knowledge I had at the time," nurture resilience and prevent internalization of failure as a reflection of personal inadequacy. Compassionate self-reflection ensures that growth is the outcome rather than guilt or shame. One practical technique for reframing is journaling. Writing about setbacks allows for deeper exploration of feelings, causes, and insights. Begin by describing the event factually, without exaggeration or self-blame. Then, reflect on what the experience taught you, what resources or strengths you discovered, and what adjustments you can make moving forward. This process externalizes thoughts and emotions, clarifying perspective and solidifying the reframe. Repeated journaling builds a habit of extracting growth from every challenge, transforming setbacks into stepping stones. Gratitude can also amplify the process. Even amid difficulty, there are often aspects of the situation that provide learning, connection, or growth. Identifying these elements, no matter how small, shifts attention from loss to opportunity. Gratitude does not minimize the challenge or dismiss discomfort. Instead, it balances perception, acknowledging that setbacks coexist with lessons, resilience, and personal development. This balanced view fosters emotional stability and encourages proactive engagement with future obstacles. Visualization enhances reframing by preparing the mind for adaptive responses. Imagine encountering a future setback with composure and curiosity, extracting lessons rather than succumbing to despair. Visualize acting with resilience, maintaining perspective, and using the experience as a catalyst for growth. Mental rehearsal strengthens belief in your capacity to respond constructively, reinforcing confidence and reducing fear of failure. Over time, visualization primes both mind and body to approach setbacks with empowerment rather than avoidance. Incremental progress complements reframing. Each small action taken after a setback is a reaffirmation that you are capable, adaptable, and resilient. For example, if a personal goal is delayed, breaking it into smaller achievable tasks allows consistent movement forward. Each task accomplished reinforces the narrative of growth, replacing defeat with momentum. Small wins accumulate, demonstrating that setbacks do not halt progress, they merely redirect it toward more informed, intentional, and effective action. Supportive relationships also facilitate reframing. Sharing experiences with trusted friends, mentors, or communities provides perspective, feedback, and encouragement. Others can help identify lessons, reinforce resilience, and validate effort in ways that self-reflection alone may not achieve. Social support ensures that setbacks do not become isolating experiences, but are integrated into a broader context of learning, connection, and growth. Mindfulness is a powerful ally in reframing setbacks. By observing thoughts and emotions without judgment, we prevent immediate reactions of self-criticism or despair. Mindfulness cultivates awareness of the transient nature of emotional responses, allowing space to reinterpret events. When combined with reflective techniques, mindfulness enables a measured, thoughtful response to adversity, promoting insight and learning rather than emotional reactivity. It is also essential to normalize setbacks as part of life, rather than exceptions. Every individual, regardless of success or ability, encounters obstacles. Setbacks are not indicators of inadequacy. They are universal experiences that provide context, perspective, and opportunity. Recognizing that adversity is a shared human condition reduces isolation and shame, creating an internal environment conducive to reframing and growth. Flexibility in thinking is critical. Rigid interpretations of failure magnify discouragement, while flexible perspectives allow multiple interpretations of the same event. For example, missing a professional target may initially feel like incompetence. Through reframing, it can be seen as a learning opportunity, a prompt to acquire new skills, or a chance to reassess priorities. Flexible thinking converts obstacles into adaptive challenges, strengthening resilience and creativity. Resilience strengthens with repeated practice of reframing. Each time you encounter a setback and choose perspective over despair, you reinforce a mindset of growth. Over time, the process becomes habitual, a natural lens through which challenges are viewed. Setbacks no longer feel paralyzing. They become predictable opportunities to learn, adapt, and strengthen internal resources. The habit of reframing nurtures courage, persistence, and hope, even in the face of significant adversity. Reframing setbacks also influences long-term outcomes. Individuals who interpret failure as learning demonstrate higher levels of achievement, perseverance, and emotional well-being. By converting obstacles into growth experiences, they maintain motivation, adjust strategies intelligently, and cultivate confidence in their ability to navigate complex challenges. This mindset fosters continuous improvement, resilience, and a sense of purpose that extends beyond temporary difficulties. The role of patience cannot be overstated. Growth often manifests gradually, and the lessons from setbacks may unfold over time. Immediate understanding or visible progress is not always present. By maintaining patience and continued reflection, you allow insights to crystallize, understanding to deepen, and resilience to develop organically. Patience reinforces the belief that setbacks are part of a process, not the final verdict on capability or potential. Storytelling can reinforce reframing. Narrating setbacks as chapters in a larger story of growth places individual experiences into context. Rather than isolated failures, they become plot points that shape character, illuminate values, and reveal strengths. This narrative perspective encourages a sense of coherence, continuity, and purpose, transforming experiences of defeat into meaningful contributions to your personal journey. Finally, action consolidates reframing. Insight without implementation is incomplete. Take lessons learned from setbacks and apply them intentionally in future situations. Adjust strategies, strengthen skills, or deepen emotional awareness. Action transforms reflection into growth, ensuring that setbacks are catalysts rather than obstacles. Each step taken is a demonstration of resilience, a tangible manifestation of the mindset shift, and a reaffirmation that hope is not lost. In conclusion, setbacks are inevitable, but they are not permanent indictments of worth or capability. By reframing failure as growth, embracing reflection, shifting perspective, cultivating narrative change, practicing self-compassion, and taking informed action, we transform discouragement into opportunity. Each obstacle becomes a teacher, each failure a lesson, and each challenge a chance to reinforce resilience, confidence, and purpose. Through consistent practice, reframing transforms how we experience life. Challenges no longer paralyze, they educate. Mistakes no longer diminish, they illuminate. Setbacks no longer define us, they shape us into stronger, wiser, and more capable individuals. By viewing adversity through the lens of growth, we reclaim agency, restore hope, and move forward with courage, intention, and unwavering belief in our capacity to thrive. Chapter 8: Cultivating Support and Connection. No person is meant to navigate life alone. The human experience, with all its challenges, joys, and uncertainties, is inherently relational. When we feel like giving up on ourselves, isolation often compounds despair. The internal voice of hopelessness grows louder when left unchecked, and the weight of difficulties can feel unbearable without a supportive presence to share it. Cultivating support and connection is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of courage, wisdom, and resilience. By reaching out, leaning on others, and allowing ourselves to be seen, we create a network of care that sustains growth, fosters perspective, and strengthens our ability to persevere. The first step in cultivating support is recognizing that needing help is human. Society often emphasizes independence, self-sufficiency, and the idea that struggling alone is a mark of strength. While self-reliance is valuable, it becomes dangerous when it prevents us from seeking guidance, companionship, or emotional support. Asking for help does not mean you are incapable. It means you are aware of your limits, willing to be honest, and committed to growth. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is a gateway to deeper connection and a source of profound strength. Connection begins with self-awareness. To seek meaningful support, you must first identify your needs. Are you looking for guidance, accountability, emotional understanding, or simply a compassionate presence? Reflect on what would genuinely alleviate pressure or help you move forward. When you understand your needs clearly, you can reach out with intention, ensuring that the connections you cultivate are nurturing rather than superficial or draining. Self-awareness also strengthens your ability to communicate openly, creating the foundation for trust and reciprocity. Building a supportive network requires courage to be authentic. Authenticity attracts people who align with your values and intentions. Sharing struggles, uncertainties, or feelings of despair is challenging, but doing so invites empathy, validation, and insight. Authentic connection creates a safe space where experiences are acknowledged without judgment, and where encouragement and guidance flow naturally. The act of showing your true self fosters reciprocal vulnerability, strengthening relationships and reinforcing the understanding that support is mutual, not one-sided. Mentors, whether in personal or professional spheres, provide invaluable guidance. They offer perspective shaped by experience, helping you navigate obstacles with insight that would otherwise take years to acquire. A mentor does not erase challenges, but they illuminate strategies, share lessons learned, and provide reassurance that setbacks are a normal part of growth. Engaging with mentors requires humility and receptivity. It is an acknowledgement that while you have agency, learning from others accelerates progress and strengthens resilience. Friends and family are equally vital in sustaining emotional well-being. Supportive relationships provide encouragement, empathy, and accountability. They remind you of your worth when self-doubt clouds judgment, and offer alternative perspectives when despair distorts reality. Healthy connections create balance, allowing you to share both triumphs and vulnerabilities. They are mirrors reflecting your potential, offering reassurance that you are not alone in your struggles. Strengthening these bonds requires effort, honesty, and reciprocity. The act of nurturing relationships deepens resilience and cultivates a sense of belonging. Mental health professionals can play a critical role in navigating challenging periods. Therapists, counselors, and coaches offer tools, strategies, and safe spaces for exploration that are often beyond the scope of friends or mentors. Professional support provides structured guidance, helping to untangle complex emotions, reframe negative thinking, and develop coping mechanisms. Engaging with professionals is an act of proactive care, demonstrating commitment to personal growth and emotional health. Seeking this form of support reinforces that investing in yourself is both necessary and empowering. Vulnerability is central to cultivating connection. Fear of judgment, rejection, or appearing weak can prevent us from seeking support. Yet the act of sharing struggles fosters intimacy, trust, and mutual understanding. When you allow yourself to be seen authentically, others feel invited to respond with empathy and support. Vulnerability builds courage and demonstrates that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the willingness to engage with it openly and honestly. Communication is essential for sustaining meaningful support. Sharing experiences requires clarity and intentionality. Expressing feelings, setting boundaries, and articulating needs ensures that connections are mutually beneficial rather than burdensome. Effective communication prevents misunderstandings, fosters trust, and strengthens the relational fabric that sustains resilience. Over time, these practices build a reliable network where each member feels valued, understood, and capable of growth alongside others. Reciprocity is another crucial element of connection. Support is most sustainable when it flows both ways. Offering empathy, encouragement, or assistance reinforces the relational bond, creating a dynamic of shared care. Helping others not only strengthens connections but also fosters a sense of purpose and self-efficacy, reinforcing the understanding that even in moments of struggle, one can contribute positively to the lives of others. This cycle of giving and receiving amplifies resilience and nurtures mutual empowerment. Cultivating support also involves discernment. Not all connections are equally nourishing. Some relationships may be draining, critical, or unsupportive, reinforcing negative patterns rather than alleviating them. Part of fostering meaningful connection is identifying and prioritizing relationships that promote growth, empathy, and understanding. This may involve limiting exposure to toxic influences, or seeking out communities and individuals aligned with your values and intentions. Intentional curation of social circles preserves energy and reinforces the capacity for sustained resilience. Communities, whether physical or virtual, provide collective strength. Shared experiences, group learning, and communal encouragement reduce isolation and foster belonging. Supportive communities create a sense of solidarity, demonstrating that struggles are universal and that growth is possible. Engaging in group activities, discussion forums, or shared projects nurtures accountability, reinforces effort, and provides a network of encouragement that amplifies personal resilience. Communities also offer exposure to diverse perspectives, fostering insight, creativity, and adaptability. Practical exercises can strengthen the ability to cultivate support. Begin by identifying individuals or groups who inspire, encourage, or understand you. Reach out with honesty, expressing both your challenges and your willingness to engage. Schedule regular check-ins, shared activities, or collaborative efforts that reinforce connection. Seek feedback, guidance, or simply a listening ear, and offer your support in return. Over time, these deliberate actions create a network that nurtures growth, provides encouragement, and sustains hope. Gratitude for support reinforces connection. Expressing appreciation to mentors, friends, family, or professionals strengthens relational bonds and deepens trust. Simple acknowledgement of the impact others have on your journey amplifies positivity, fosters mutual respect, and encourages continued support. Gratitude also shifts focus from isolation or struggle to the richness of relational resources, reinforcing the understanding that you are not alone and that resilience is strengthened by connection. Consistency in nurturing support is critical. Relationships, mentorships, and community involvement require ongoing attention. Occasional engagement may provide temporary relief, but sustained connection strengthens resilience, deepens trust, and fosters long-term growth. Regular communication, shared experiences, and reciprocal care ensure that support remains reliable and that the network continues to reinforce hope, perspective, and persistence. Boundaries remain essential, even within supportive networks. While connection is vital, maintaining personal limits protects energy, ensures emotional safety, and fosters sustainable engagement. Boundaries prevent burnout and reinforce clarity in interactions, ensuring that support is beneficial rather than overwhelming. By balancing openness with self-care, you cultivate relationships that are nurturing, empowering, and enduring. Support and connection are transformative not only for practical guidance, but also for emotional resilience. Human beings are social creatures, wired to respond to empathy, encouragement, and shared experience. When we cultivate these connections intentionally, we create a buffer against despair, providing reassurance, perspective, and encouragement that we are capable of navigating adversity. Connection amplifies our capacity to persevere, offering emotional scaffolding that makes challenges manageable rather than overwhelming. Engaging fully in supportive relationships requires vulnerability, courage, and intentionality. It involves asking for help when needed, sharing experiences authentically, and allowing oneself to be influenced, encouraged, and uplifted by others. Each act of engagement reinforces the understanding that strength is not isolation. Strength is collaboration, empathy, and shared human experience. The journey of cultivating support also transforms the way you relate to yourself. As you allow others to see your struggles and strengths, you internalize the lessons of empathy, care, and validation. You begin to understand that asking for help is compatible with self-respect, that vulnerability strengthens rather than diminishes character, and that resilience is nurtured not only internally but through connection with others. Ultimately, cultivating support and connection is an act of hope. It is a declaration that your life matters, that your journey is worthy of accompaniment, and that challenges are not faced alone. By building networks of mentorship, friendship, professional guidance, and community, you create a structure that sustains resilience, fosters growth, and reinforces the belief that giving up is never the only option. In conclusion, human connection is essential to resilience, recovery, and growth. By reaching out to others, embracing vulnerability, and building supportive networks, we create the conditions for hope, confidence, and perseverance to flourish. Mentors provide guidance, friends and family offer empathy, professionals bring tools and insight, and communities foster belonging. These connections are not signs of weakness, they are lifelines, anchors, and sources of strength that sustain us through life's challenges. Through intentional cultivation of support, you reclaim agency over your journey. You reinforce the understanding that strength is relational as well as internal, that hope can be nurtured in dialogue as well as reflection, and that resilience grows in connection. Every act of engagement, every expression of vulnerability, and every reciprocated moment of care deepens the foundation upon which confidence, perseverance, and purpose are rebuilt. By cultivating support, you not only endure, you thrive. Chapter 9: Rebuilding Your Vision and Purpose. When life feels heavy and the urge to give up on yourself grows, one of the first casualties is often your sense of purpose. The clarity of direction that once fueled your ambitions and energized your days can feel clouded, as if the compass guiding your life has vanished. You may find yourself drifting through routines, making decisions on autopilot, or questioning why you continue striving at all. During these moments, reconnecting with your vision and purpose becomes not just an exercise in motivation, but a lifeline, a way to anchor yourself in meaning, intention, and hope, even when circumstances feel overwhelming. Purpose is the silent engine behind perseverance. It is the reason we get up in the morning despite fatigue, setbacks, or fear. It is the internal compass that orients us when external maps are unclear. When we feel disconnected from purpose, every task can feel heavy, every decision overwhelming, and every setback magnified. Conversely, when we reconnect with our deeper why, each action becomes imbued with meaning, each challenge a stepping stone toward growth, and each day an opportunity to align with our values. Rebuilding purpose is therefore both practical and deeply restorative. It restores direction, ignites motivation, and renews confidence in our ability to continue forward. The first step in this process is reflection. Pause and ask yourself, what matters most to me, and what brings me a sense of fulfillment? These questions may seem simple, but their answers often require honest introspection. Life circumstances, external expectations, and past disappointments can cloud clarity, making it necessary to peel back layers of noise to reveal the essence of what truly drives you. Reflection helps you distinguish between what you have been conditioned to value, success, approval, external validation, and what genuinely resonates with your soul. Reconnect with your values, the core principles that define who you are. Values are the anchor points that guide decisions, behavior, and priorities. They represent what is non-negotiable in your life, the standards by which you measure choices and experiences. When you clarify your values, you gain a framework for evaluating opportunities, relationships, and goals. You learn to say yes to what aligns, and no to what undermines your well-being. This alignment reduces internal conflict, reinforces self-trust, and illuminates a path forward even amid uncertainty. Passions are equally important in rebuilding vision. They are the activities, ideas, or pursuits that ignite energy and curiosity, the things that make you feel alive. Reconnecting with passions is an act of permission, giving yourself the space to explore, create, and engage in what brings joy and fulfillment. Passions remind you that life is not solely about survival or obligation. They are fuel for resilience, providing inspiration and emotional sustenance when challenges arise. Even small moments spent in pursuit of passions can rebuild confidence and enthusiasm, reinforcing the belief that life is meaningful and worth effort. Rebuilding purpose also involves revisiting past experiences. Look back at times when you felt aligned, fulfilled, or energized. What patterns emerge? What activities, relationships, or contributions consistently brought satisfaction? These reflections illuminate not only what has worked in the past, but also what continues to matter in the present. By identifying these recurring themes, you create a bridge between past fulfillment and future vision, anchoring purpose in tangible experience rather than abstract desire. Goal setting is a practical tool for translating vision into action. Once values and passions are clarified, consider what specific outcomes, milestones, or achievements reflect alignment with these core elements. Break long-term aspirations into achievable steps, ensuring that progress is visible and manageable. Goals provide both motivation and structure, allowing you to see how incremental action contributes to broader purpose. Even small, consistent efforts toward meaningful objectives reinforce a sense of agency and rebuild confidence in your capacity to create the life you desire. Vision mapping can deepen clarity and focus. Create a visual representation of your desired future, a map of what you want to achieve, experience, and become. Include aspects of personal growth, relationships, career, health, and contribution to others. Visualization transforms abstract desires into concrete possibilities, providing a roadmap for action and a source of daily inspiration. By seeing your purpose represented tangibly, you strengthen belief in your potential, motivation to act, and ability to navigate obstacles with clarity. Identifying your personal why is essential. Simon Sinek's principle of starting with why emphasizes that understanding the deeper reason behind actions fuels persistence, creativity, and resilience. Ask yourself, why does this matter? Why am I committed to this goal, relationship, or value? The answer may be simple: love, growth, freedom, or contribution, but articulating it strengthens alignment and provides emotional fuel. Your why becomes a touchstone, a guiding light when circumstances feel difficult or discouraging. Purpose also thrives in connection. Engaging with communities, mentors, or peers who share your values or aspirations reinforces clarity and accountability. Shared vision strengthens motivation and provides perspective, reminding you that your goals are both meaningful and achievable. Collaboration amplifies energy, offering opportunities to learn, contribute, and be inspired by others' journeys. By nurturing these relationships, purpose becomes not just personal but collective, enriching both your life and the lives of those around you. Rebuilding vision is not about dramatic reinvention, it is about realignment. Life often presents detours, delays, or disruptions that obscure clarity. The process of purpose restoration is a gentle recalibration, identifying what is authentic, letting go of what no longer serves, and recommitting to what matters most. This practice honors your evolution, recognizing that purpose is dynamic, shaped by growth, experience, and changing circumstances. Flexibility ensures that vision remains a source of motivation rather than a rigid burden. Mindfulness supports this realignment by cultivating presence and awareness. By observing thoughts, desires, and emotions without judgment, you create the mental space to discern genuine purpose from external pressure or fleeting distraction. Mindfulness allows you to respond to challenges intentionally rather than reactively, reinforcing alignment with values and vision. Daily mindfulness practices, even brief moments of reflection or meditation, anchor you in clarity and strengthen decision-making in alignment with your purpose. Resilience and purpose are mutually reinforcing. When you reconnect with what matters, challenges become navigable. Obstacles are no longer meaningless hurdles but opportunities to exercise courage, problem-solving, and determination. Purpose acts as a stabilizing force, maintaining direction and motivation even when life feels chaotic. Rebuilding vision restores hope, reminding you that your life is guided by intention and meaning rather than circumstance or random events. Gratitude enhances purpose by highlighting the resources, opportunities, and relationships that support your journey. Recognizing the positive aspects of your life fosters optimism and reinforces motivation. Gratitude also encourages reflection on what is meaningful, clarifying priorities, and deepening commitment to goals aligned with values. This perspective cultivates emotional resilience and strengthens the ability to persist even in challenging times. Purpose is further strengthened through storytelling. Narrating your life not as a series of missteps or failures, but as an unfolding journey imbued with learning, growth, and intention, reframes challenges into meaningful experiences. Storytelling integrates past experiences with present aspirations, creating coherence and reinforcing identity. By understanding your life as a narrative with purpose, you move forward with clarity, confidence, and a renewed sense of agency. Daily practices sustain alignment. Reflective journaling, goal tracking, affirmations, and intention setting keep vision present and actionable. Consistency in these practices ensures that purpose remains an active part of your life rather than an abstract concept. Small, repeated actions reinforce clarity, maintain momentum, and provide tangible evidence of progress toward meaningful goals. Over time, these practices transform purpose from an idea into lived reality. Adaptability is also crucial. Life is unpredictable and circumstances may shift. Purpose is not rigid, it evolves with growth, experience, and external change. By remaining flexible, you preserve alignment with core values while adjusting methods, strategies, and priorities. Adaptability allows purpose to remain motivating and relevant, providing guidance without creating rigidity or undue pressure. Rebuilding purpose restores confidence. When you see your life aligned with values, passions, and meaningful goals, belief in your ability to persevere is reinforced. Each step forward, however small, affirms that you are capable of navigating challenges, creating impact, and experiencing fulfillment. Confidence grows not from perfection but from consistent action guided by intentional purpose. In conclusion, vision and purpose are the engines that sustain resilience, motivation, and hope. By reflecting on values, reconnecting with passions, setting achievable goals, identifying your why, engaging with supportive communities, and practicing mindfulness, you rebuild the foundation of meaning that guides your life. Purpose transforms challenges into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, and ordinary moments into intentional action. Rebuilding your vision and purpose is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process of alignment, reflection, and action. By committing to this practice, you reclaim agency, restore hope, and cultivate the inner compass that guides you through life's uncertainties. Your purpose, once rediscovered, illuminates the path forward, providing motivation, clarity, and fulfillment even in the face of adversity. Through deliberate reflection, consistent action, and connection with what truly matters, you reaffirm that your life is meaningful, that your journey is worthy, and that giving up on yourself is not an option. Rebuilding vision and purpose empowers you to step forward with confidence, courage, and unwavering belief in your capacity to create a life aligned with your deepest values and aspirations. Chapter 10: Sustaining Hope Through Daily Practices. Hope is not a fleeting emotion reserved for moments of ease or comfort. True hope is cultivated, nurtured, and sustained through deliberate, consistent practices that anchor us in resilience, self-compassion, and clarity. When life feels overwhelming and giving up on ourselves seems like the easiest path, hope becomes the lifeline that carries us forward. The beauty of hope is that it is not dependent on circumstance. It thrives in intention, daily action, and the small rituals that remind us of our inner strength, worth, and potential. Sustaining hope is an ongoing commitment, a practice rather than a goal, and it requires both patience and persistence. The first principle of sustaining hope is consistency. Hope cannot be summoned sporadically or left to chance. It is strengthened through repeated, intentional acts that reinforce belief in oneself and in life's possibilities. These acts can be as simple as dedicating a few minutes each day to reflection, journaling, or affirmations. They serve as reminders that, regardless of setbacks, challenges, or external uncertainty, you are actively choosing to nurture resilience. Daily routines provide structure and stability, establishing a foundation upon which hope can grow even during turbulent times. Mindfulness is central to sustaining hope. The practice of being fully present in each moment allows you to notice your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without judgment. Mindfulness cultivates awareness of destructive patterns, self-critical thoughts, and emotional triggers, providing the space to respond rather than react. By observing your internal landscape, you gain clarity about what feeds or diminishes your hope, and you can consciously choose thoughts and actions that nurture resilience. Mindfulness is both preventive and restorative. It shields against despair while actively reinforcing optimism and self-trust. Self-compassion is equally vital. Sustaining hope does not mean ignoring struggles or pretending difficulties do not exist. Rather, it means treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and patience, especially in the face of setbacks. Life inevitably presents challenges, but the voice you use to navigate them determines whether hope survives or fades. Replace harsh self-criticism with nurturing language, acknowledge effort even when results are imperfect, and allow yourself to feel and process disappointment without self-blame. Self-compassion reinforces the belief that you are worthy of perseverance and capable of growth, creating a fertile ground for hope to flourish. Daily affirmations strengthen hope by actively directing attention toward possibility, resilience, and self-belief. Statements such as, "I am capable of navigating challenges, every small step moves me forward," or "I am deserving of growth and joy" may seem simple, yet repeated consistently they reshape the internal narrative. Affirmations work by reinforcing the neural pathways associated with confidence and optimism, gradually displacing self-doubt and despair. Used in combination with reflection and mindfulness, affirmations become a daily reminder that hope is not passive. It is an active choice rooted in belief and action. Reflection amplifies these practices. At the end of each day, take time to consider moments of courage, persistence, and learning, no matter how small. Reflect on what went well, what challenges you faced, and how you responded. This practice anchors hope in tangible experience, showing that even in difficulty, progress is occurring. Reflection also allows you to recalibrate, adjust actions and acknowledge achievements, reinforcing the understanding that resilience is a skill cultivated over time through consistent effort. Rituals, whether simple or elaborate, create daily anchors for hope. A morning routine of stretching, journaling, or meditation sets the tone for the day, signaling intention and self-care. Evening routines of reflection, gratitude, or planning provide closure and perspective, reinforcing the sense that each day contributes to growth. Rituals provide psychological stability, reduce cognitive overwhelm, and offer a structured framework to reinforce optimism and resilience, reminding you that hope is maintained through deliberate, repeated practice. Gratitude is a powerful daily practice for sustaining hope. Even in difficult circumstances, there are aspects of life that can be acknowledged, appreciated, and celebrated. Recognizing what you have achieved, and the resources available to you fosters optimism and shifts focus from lack to possibility. Gratitude is not about ignoring challenges, it is about balancing perspective, cultivating awareness of abundance alongside adversity. This mindset reinforces hope by demonstrating that despite obstacles, life contains elements that nurture growth, resilience, and fulfillment. Connection to supportive people is another daily practice that sustains hope. Reach out regularly to friends, mentors, or communities that inspire, encourage, and provide perspective. Even brief conversations or gestures of connection remind you that you are not alone, that your struggles are acknowledged, and that support is available. Connection strengthens resilience, amplifies optimism, and reinforces the internal belief that life is navigable and meaningful. It is an ongoing investment in hope that grows exponentially through reciprocity and engagement. Physical well-being is closely linked to mental and emotional hope. Regular movement, balanced nutrition, adequate rest, and mindful attention to the body create the energy and clarity necessary for sustained resilience. Small daily acts, such as a short walk, mindful breathing, or a nourishing meal, signal self-care, reinforcing the belief that your well-being matters and that you have the capacity to act in alignment with your needs. The mind and body are interconnected. Nurturing one strengthens the other, creating a foundation upon which hope thrives. Learning from challenges is another key practice. Each day presents opportunities to face discomfort, make decisions, and navigate uncertainty. By consciously extracting lessons from these experiences, you transform obstacles into growth opportunities, reinforcing the belief that even difficulty contributes to progress. Journaling insights, reflecting on strategies that work, and acknowledging adaptive responses strengthen confidence and provide a tangible record of resilience over time. The consistent practice of learning converts trials into a roadmap for hope, illustrating that perseverance yields insight and empowerment. Flexibility in thought and action sustains hope in dynamic life circumstances. Rigidity breeds frustration and despair when expectations are unmet or plans are disrupted. By cultivating adaptability, you remain open to alternative paths, solutions, and opportunities. Flexibility allows you to maintain forward momentum even when outcomes differ from initial intentions. Daily exercises in adaptability, rethinking approaches, exploring alternatives, or adjusting expectations, reinforce the understanding that hope is rooted not in certainty, but in the ongoing commitment to engage with life intentionally. Visualization strengthens hope by anchoring attention on desired outcomes. Spend a few minutes each day imagining yourself navigating challenges with resilience, achieving goals aligned with your values, and moving forward with clarity and confidence. Visualization creates emotional and cognitive alignment, reinforcing belief in your capacity to act and persist. When practiced consistently, This technique bridges intention and action, enhancing motivation and sustaining optimism even during periods of uncertainty. Positive self-talk is another daily tool. Notice the language you use internally, replacing doubt, criticism, and fear with encouragement, perspective, and affirmation. Phrases such as, "I am capable, this challenge is temporary," or "I can take the next step," strengthen belief in possibility, counteracting the internal narratives that fuel hopelessness. Repeated daily practice rewires thought patterns, embedding hope into your automatic responses and internal dialogue. Acts of service and contribution amplify hope by connecting purpose with action. Helping others, offering encouragement, or sharing your experience transforms struggles into meaningful engagement. Daily contributions, even small, create a sense of agency, reinforce self-worth, and remind you that you have the ability to impact the world positively. Contribution nurtures hope by linking personal resilience with broader purpose, demonstrating that growth and fulfillment extend beyond the self. Patience is a daily practice essential for sustaining hope. Transformation, recovery, and progress unfold gradually. Daily reminders to honor the journey, acknowledge small steps, and resist comparison cultivate enduring optimism. Patience encourages persistence, reduces frustration, and reinforces the understanding that hope is maintained through cumulative effort rather than instantaneous results. By integrating patience into daily reflection, rituals, and action, you create an environment in which resilience naturally develops. Affirming progress is critical. Each day, recognize the actions you have taken, no matter how small, that align with your values, goals, or intentions. Celebrate milestones and incremental achievements. Daily acknowledgement reinforces confidence, strengthens motivation, and provides tangible evidence that growth is occurring. When you regularly affirm progress, hope is continually replenished, offering momentum that carries you through setbacks, fatigue, or uncertainty. Daily planning and intention setting maintain focus. Begin each day by identifying priorities aligned with your vision, values, and goals. Consider 1 or 2 actionable steps that move you forward. Intentional planning channels energy toward meaningful activity, reduces distraction, and reinforces belief in your agency. Each day becomes an opportunity to engage actively in hope, making it a lived experience rather than a distant aspiration. Finally, reflection at day's end consolidates learning and sustains hope. Review what was achieved, what was learned, and how you responded to challenges. Note acts of courage, persistence, and resilience. Documenting daily progress fosters perspective, allowing you to see that even small steps accumulate, setbacks are temporary, and effort matters. Daily reflection transforms ordinary experiences into meaningful contributions to long-term growth and well-being. In conclusion, hope is sustained through intentional daily practices that integrate reflection, mindfulness, self-compassion, affirmations, connection, learning, flexibility, visualization, positive self-talk, contribution, patience, progress acknowledgement, and planning. Each day offers an opportunity to strengthen resilience, rebuild self-belief, and align with purpose. Hope is not a distant or abstract concept. It is nurtured through consistent, deliberate action that honors both the journey and the human capacity for growth. By embracing these practices daily, you cultivate a life where hope persists even in adversity, setbacks become opportunities for growth, and self-belief is continuously reinforced. Hope thrives not in the absence of difficulty, but in the ongoing commitment to act, reflect, and persevere. Through these routines, rituals, and intentional practices, you build an enduring foundation of resilience, clarity, and optimism. Sustaining hope is not about perfection, it is about showing up each day, honoring the journey, and believing in your capacity to continue moving forward, no matter the circumstances. Conclusion: embracing the journey back to yourself. As we come to the close of this journey together, it is essential to pause and acknowledge the courage it has taken to engage with the pages of this book. To read these words, to reflect on your struggles, and to confront the moments when giving up on yourself seemed like the easiest option is already a profound act of bravery. The path back to self-belief, resilience and purpose is rarely linear. It is filled with twists, turns and unexpected challenges. And yet, each step you have taken, even in reading these words, has been a step toward reclaiming your power and reconnecting with the person you were always meant to be. Life will inevitably present moments when hope feels distant and doubt feels loud. There will be times when the weight of responsibility, the sting of failure, or the ache of unmet expectations makes you question your worth, your ability, and your direction. It is in these moments that the lessons of this book come to life. Giving up is never a verdict on your character. It is a signal from within, a gentle or sometimes loud call to pause, to reflect and to reconnect. It is your inner self reminding you that something essential has been neglected, that your needs, desires, or boundaries have been overlooked, and that the strength to move forward has always existed inside you. Resilience is not something that appears fully formed in moments of crisis. It is cultivated over time, nurtured through reflection, practice, and deliberate action. Every chapter of this book has aimed to provide tools and perspectives for that cultivation. From understanding why you feel defeated to reconnecting with your inner strength, practicing self-compassion, identifying negative patterns, letting go of what you cannot control, taking small steps toward meaningful change, reframing setbacks as growth, building supportive relationships, rediscovering vision and purpose, and sustaining hope through daily practices, you have explored strategies to reclaim agency over your life. These are not abstract ideas. They are actionable, tangible approaches that, when applied consistently, transform despair into direction, fear into courage, and doubt into clarity. Self-compassion lies at the heart of this transformation. In your journey, it is likely you have been your own harshest critic. Perhaps you have replayed failures, amplified shortcomings, or punished yourself for perceived inadequacies. This book has emphasized that such self-criticism is not a reflection of truth. It is a habit that can be unlearned. By nurturing self-compassion, you allow yourself to treat mistakes and setbacks not as evidence of failure, but as opportunities for growth. Compassion provides emotional safety, the space to breathe, and the permission to continue even when progress feels slow or uncertain. It is the steady companion that reminds you, you are enough, you are capable, and your journey matters. Purpose is another anchor in times of uncertainty. Rebuilding your vision, reconnecting with your values, and clarifying what truly matters gives meaning to your efforts. When life feels chaotic, purpose provides direction. It transforms ordinary tasks into steps along a path that reflects your authentic self. By identifying your passions, articulating your why, and aligning your daily actions with your deepest values, you create momentum that cannot be taken away by external setbacks. Purpose is the light that guides your steps forward, ensuring that even in difficult seasons, your path is intentional and aligned with the essence of who you are. Connection and support are equally vital. The human experience is relational, and no one thrives in isolation. Building supportive networks, through friends, family, mentors, or professional guidance, reinforces resilience, provides perspective, and reminds you that you are not alone. Reaching out, embracing vulnerability, and allowing others to witness your journey is not a weakness, it is an expression of courage. Each supportive interaction strengthens the understanding that hope and perseverance are nurtured, not only internally, but also through meaningful relationships that encourage, challenge, and uplift you. Daily practices form the practical foundation of sustained hope and resilience. Mindfulness, reflection, journaling, affirmations, gratitude, visualization, and intentional planning are more than routines. They are tools that anchor you in clarity and strength. When life feels overwhelming, these small but consistent actions remind you that you have agency, that each step forward matters, and that growth occurs incrementally. The power of these daily practices lies in their ability to integrate lessons from struggle into lived experience, transforming insight into action and despair into hope. It is essential to recognize that setbacks, disappointments, and moments of despair are not evidence of failure. They are inevitable components of life that provide opportunity for growth. Reframing these experiences allows you to see them as teachers rather than judges, as signals to adjust course rather than verdicts on worth. Each challenge you face, when met with reflection and intentionality, strengthens resilience, deepens self-awareness, and enriches understanding of what you need to thrive. The hardships you encounter are part of the fabric of your story. They are chapters that, when reframed, enhance the narrative of your life rather than diminish it. The journey back to yourself is also a journey of recognition. Within you lies a strength that has always existed. There is a courage that does not need to be discovered. It simply needs to be acknowledged, embraced, and exercised. There is a wisdom that has always guided you, a quiet voice of intuition and insight that, when listened to, points you toward alignment, clarity, and action. The work of this book has been to help you recognize, reconnect with, and honor that inner strength, so that it may guide you forward with confidence and authenticity. Perseverance, self-awareness, and intentional action converge in this journey. Giving up may have seemed like a tempting option at times, but choosing to pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself transforms that temptation into a catalyst for growth. Every moment of despair becomes an opportunity to practice resilience, every mistake becomes a lesson, and every challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate courage. By embracing the process rather than seeking perfection, you cultivate a mindset that values persistence, celebrates progress, and honors your inherent worth. As you move forward, remember that the inner work of resilience is ongoing. Life will continue to present challenges, and moments of doubt may reappear. Yet each time you reconnect with your strength, practice self-compassion, lean on support, reflect on your purpose, and take intentional steps forward, you reinforce the capacity to endure and thrive. Hope is not static. It is maintained through repetition, mindfulness, and deliberate action. By committing to these practices, you create a self-sustaining cycle of growth, empowerment, and confidence. The journey back to yourself is ultimately a journey of love for who you are, for the life you are capable of creating, and for the potential that exists within you. It is a commitment to honor your experiences, integrate your lessons, and move forward with clarity and courage. This journey is not defined by perfection or the absence of setbacks, but by the willingness to continue showing up for yourself, day after day, even when it feels difficult. By embracing this path, you reclaim authority over your life and reaffirm that giving up is never the final answer. In closing, remember this: the strength, courage, and hope to move forward have always been within you. The moments when you felt defeated, overwhelmed, or tempted to give up were not signs of inadequacy. They were invitations to pause, reflect, and reconnect. You have learned that resilience is cultivated, that purpose can be rediscovered, and that hope is sustained through daily practice. The tools, reflections, and strategies you have explored are not just concepts. They are practical, actionable ways to reclaim your life step by step. Your journey is uniquely yours, filled with experiences that shape your growth and reveal your strength. By embracing the lessons of despair, practicing self-compassion, reconnecting with your purpose, nurturing supportive relationships, and committing to daily acts that reinforce hope, you create a life aligned with your values and potential. This is the journey back to yourself, a journey of courage, resilience, and unwavering belief in your inherent worth. Take a moment now to honor how far you have come. Recognize the steps you have taken, the awareness you have gained, and the commitment you have made to continue. The path ahead may still hold uncertainty, But armed with self-knowledge, connection, and daily practices, you are equipped to meet it with courage, clarity, and hope. Embrace this journey, trust the strength within you, and know that you are capable of moving forward, building, and thriving. Giving up is no longer an option. Instead, you step into the life you were always meant to lead, rooted in resilience, guided by purpose, and illuminated by the unwavering hope that resides within your own heart. The journey back to yourself is not a single moment. It is a lifetime of commitment to your well-being, growth, and authenticity. Each day is an opportunity to choose hope, act with intention, and nurture the strength that has always been yours. Your story is far from over. It is a living testament to courage, resilience, and the transformative power of believing in yourself. By embracing this journey fully, you reclaim your life, honor your potential, and step confidently into the future, knowing that the inner strength to continue to grow and to thrive has always been within you, waiting only for your recognition and your commitment to let it guide you. Thank you for reading this book. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to leave us a review. TM Light. Disclaimer. This book was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. While every effort was made to ensure the accuracy and relevance of the content, readers should note that this cannot be considered professional advice. Readers are encouraged to apply their own judgment and consult experts where needed.